Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this webinar series, AP Automation and 5 Easy Steps. If you haven't had a chance to see any of the previous steps, you can actually go out to www.digitechsystems.com and locate our AP page, and you'll see that we have recorded this series for you, and you can watch them at your leisure. And today we're talking about Retain. It's the archival component of storing invoices. And we have Christina Robbins, who in just a minute will talk to you about the overall business benefit for automating AP. And we also have Paul Owens, who will take you through a simple presentation showing you how the software gives you the ability to actually retain invoices and set retention schedules and so forth. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christina, and thank you.
Thank you, Sean. So did you know that LexisNexis reports that a single gigabyte can hold more than 15,000 pages of information? If you're still paying to store paper files in filing cabinets, filing systems, or off-site storage, there is a better way. And today we're going to start talking about AP automation. We've boiled it down to just 5 simple steps. And in today's session, we're going to talk about just the last step, which has to do with what you're going to do with those digital invoices once they've been processed for payment. And I'm going to go ahead and share an example of a real customer who is using a cloud-based document management system to retain invoices in compliance with regulatory guidelines. As Sean mentioned, if you missed any of our previous webinars covering the first 4 steps, you can actually access recordings of them on the accounts payable page of our website at digitechsystems.com. And before we jump into retention, I want to quickly review the first 4 steps of the AP automation journey. So step 1 in moving from paper-based invoicing to automated AP is to convert those invoices that you're still receiving on paper into digital files that are more secure and easier to work with. And you'll do so by scanning the paper documents into digital files. Once digital, they then benefit from the same automatic security, retention, and routing as their electronic counterparts. Once you've gotten rid of those paper invoices, you'll have a bunch of digital invoice files. So what do you do with those? Well, step 2 is to index the new digital invoices so that you can find them again using keyword search. Eliminate effort here is key. So you know to look for software options that include the ability to automatically identify and classify invoices by type, and that will electronically extract the critical information off the invoices, so that you don't have to hand key anything. Now that we've scanned images of our paper invoices and they've been tagged with index information so we can easily find them again, what's next? Well, step 3 in the automated AP process is to reconcile invoices against supporting documentation. You know that electronic systems offer the ability to immediately locate all supporting documentation, including purchase orders and shipping information, so that you can quickly double-check details to ensure payment accuracy. Invoices that are received must get paid, and often suppliers have negotiated discount terms that offer companies incentives if they pay invoices early. Streamlining invoice processing times by routing invoices through approval processes using electronic workflow or business process management technologies will dramatically reduce the time spent processing each invoice, thereby enabling your organization to take advantage of more early payment discounts. So at this point, we've cut and sent the check and our process is complete, right? Well, hold on. Once paid, the active life of most invoices is over, but financial records are subject to particular retention schedules that require businesses to keep copies for years, which leads us into step number 5, retain. Electronic records are easier and more cost-effective to retain than mountains of paper invoices, filling up filing cabinets and off-site storage. In addition, many document management systems include the ability to set up retention schedules as financial records are received. These schedules can notify administrators when documents are due for destruction and can even prevent records from being destroyed without proper authorization. So what should you be looking for to meet your retention needs? Well, only work with a vendor who offers the ability to store your files either on-site on your own corporate network or in the cloud at your discretion. And you should be able to switch from one to the other without much hassle, since you don't know today how your needs may change over time. In addition, choose an application that helps by applying automatic retention timeframes to every document, that allows you to require management authorization prior to record deletion, and that gives you the ability to hold documents past retention deadlines as needed. This is one of my favorite customer stories to tell because I love these ladies and they're saving a bundle on their AP records retention. As the #1 specialty tea company in the United States, R.C. Bigelow Inc., makers of Bigelow Tea, have been relying for decades on automation in their processing factories, but they did not begin to convert AP processes to digital until about 10 years ago. Their AP automation journey began because of the difficulty of storing and retaining financial records in compliance with tax guidelines. They were saving 5 years of paper-based information at their headquarters in Fairfield, Connecticut, and at the end of each year, a temporary employee was then brought in to sort files for off-site storage, where they would be held for another 2 to 3 years. They chose our cloud-based document management service called Image Silo to retain their financial records because it was easier to get started and did not require IT involvement to set up. In fact, Noreen Clough and Melanie McElroy, the two ladies who oversee all of the financial functions for Bigelow, actually set up and modify the system largely by themselves. After automating their AP processes, they generated the following results. Overall, AP employee productivity has improved by more than 5%, saving thousands of hours annually, and eliminating the need for part-time and contract employees to help prepare for audits. In addition, Nucleus Research, an independent analyst organization that specializes in the financial return on technology investments, recognized R.C. Bigelow as a Technology ROI Award winner and calculated their project ROI at 813%, with full project payback in less than 2 months. The analyst stated, Bigelow Tea was able to yield such significant return because many of the company's manual, paper-based processes were eliminated. Imagine bringing that kind of return to your organization simply by going digital. One fun part about this story is that the effort to go digital in AP has become the model across the organization. R.C. Bigelow is well known for their environmental commitment to green initiatives, and in fact, Connecticut Governor Jody Rell chose to sign the Connecticut Energy Efficiency Bill at the company's headquarters in 2007. Dubbed Sustainability, TEA, the same cloud-based document repository that has assisted AP for more than a decade is now used by almost all major departments of the company. Almost 100% of company reports are electronic only, and all departments report on paper use and efforts to reduce as part of their monthly statements. So as organizations move toward AP automation, they experience significant time and money savings. IOFM reports that moving from paper-based to digital invoicing reduces the average cost to process each invoice from $11.76 to just $5.46. And a simple improvement in the number of early discounts you're able to earn can result in huge savings that go directly to the company's bottom line. IOFM again reports that a 2% early payment discount is the equivalent of a 36% reduction in annual interest rate. So before I turn this over to Paul so he can show you what the technology looks like, I want to summarize by saying, hopefully this webinar series has given you a better feel for where to start automating your AP processes. You don't have to be intimidated by the thought of AP automation. Times and technologies have changed to make it as simple as scan, index, reconcile, remit, retain. And if you'd like to see a summary of the information we've covered about the 5 steps to AP automation in this webinar series, please visit the bit.ly web address you see on the screen. And as we mentioned earlier, you can also access additional information on the accounts payable page of our website. And with that, it's all you, Paul.
Thank you very much. I will show my screen. We're going to go back and talk a little bit about the past. We started this process with the scanning and the indexing and the reconciliation and the remitting has been mentioned many times. But we're going to look at those same documents now at the retain step. The important thing about this to know is that because we digitize these invoices to the front of the process, technically they were already retained because they were already stored in a document imaging system. So we have no filing per se to do. We still have the ability to get to it. So I'm just going to go out there and just do a quick search. And you can see right here, all of those invoices that we processed through these 5 seminars are right here. And you'll see that if I wanted to find one very easily, I could just double click on it. It will pull it up. There's that invoice. So it is that easy to do. Now then, we're going to look at this some more in detail. You'll notice that each one of these lines, so if I come out of here and just come in here and put in Allen's, now let's look for an invoice number. Let's look for 53. All right, there's invoice 53. I found it just that easily. But the problem is that how many times you get a call and you know what the invoice number is if you're doing research. You probably would know the purchase order number, so we'll just put that in. And if I typed it correctly, we'll get to, and I didn't. That's called pilot error. That should work. There we go. And now we get to that document just that easily. But you'll see this little plus right next to it. Well, this is one of those documents where we not only took off the invoice date and the amount and the vendor and that, but we also collected all of the line item details, the quantities, the descriptions, the unit price, and the line totals. Well, we actually stored those with the documents too, so we could actually find this document by any piece that we had actually ordered, which greatly enhances the searchability of the data that we processed. As opposed to just having a piece of paper and a file, we can find by anything on this document because that's the way we put it in. Now, we leverage this with our indexing to help us reconcile, but it actually can help us find it once it's retained. So we have that capability going on. Now, you'll see I have a lot of index fields here. These are the fields that we collected during the indexing step of this process. We can actually do more than that. So let's look at another situation where they're actually using the AP imaging system process and the imaging process to do that business process improvement that Christina mentioned, where we used the workflow and we actually went back through and on each invoice backfilled automatically the check number that applied to that invoice. So we had a two-way lookup. So I could look for a check and find all the invoices, or I could look for an invoice and find the check on which it was paid. So we have the capability of doing that. Now, once again, this may be more technology than what your actual department needs, but every AP department would need this particular solution. This replicates the traditional AP process to where all the papers are gathered during the process, the requisition, the purchase order, the delivery ticket, pick list, invoice, and then that is all paid, and a copy of the check goes on top of that stack of paper in a staple and then is filed alpha by vendor by year. And that is absolutely a valid process of doing it. This is going to show you how that would look in a electronic system where the check number is the key, and then we have vendor name, number, and check amount. Now, if I were to go out here and look at a vendor name, let's just put in DIGI, and we'll find all of the documents that are out there for a vendor that starts DIGI, and it's building my list for me and sorting everything out. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a result set. Okay, now there is the result set of all the invoices, all the checks that have been written for this vendor for all the years that is in here. Now, a real world example, how many times do you get audited? And your auditors, internal auditors, want to see all the checks that are written. Well, here's a very easy presentation. I've got all the checks that were written to this vendor, but then they throw you the curve. Okay, we want to see Digitech, but we want to see all of those checks that are within a date range. So let's just say they want to see all the checks from 2001. Now, if you're like the customer that this was set up for, this year's checks were in the filing cabinets in the AP department. Last year's were in boxes down the hall. 3 years ago and older were in the off-site storage, affectionately referred to as the snake house. And yes, they had on numerous occasions seen snakes. So nobody really wanted to go there. So anytime they got one of these kind of audit requests, a lot of man hours were used to actually get to these documents. But imagine how much time would have been saved if they would just gone in here and said, okay, let's see all of the ones from 2011 and do a search, and now I've got a check dates, all 2011 checks, just that easily. Now the auditors come back and throw you another curve. Yeah, but we really only care about those that are in excess of $5,000. So we can just come over here and do another search, and we're going to get a reduced list again that shows all of the checks that were over $5,000 written to this vendor in that year. Now then, if the vendor were asking for a copy of all of those checks, well, in the old system, they would have copied all the ones in the file cabinets in the AP department. They would have found the box in the closet and copied all of those, and then they would have gone to the snake house and brought those back and made copies of that check. Dozens of hours of labor to make that, to get to right here. With here, we got there with 3 pieces of information. We just put in the vendor name, the check range, and the date range. We did our search. We get a result set. I select the result set. I can then print this, all of this, and what they did to respond to this information is they only printed page 1. So just that easily, they were able to respond to that request, and that made the penguins do the happy dance. So once again, is we have lots of layers of technology. AP automation can be full-blown automation where we have it do our data entry for us. We have it help reconcile to the other documents that have come in. The delivery ticket and the PO come to mind specifically. It will help us route the documents that aren't PO driven through the process for approval. So it is automated. People are held accountable. Timers can be set so nothing falls through the cracks to facilitate that prompt payment discount and the 36% interest that it says. And all of those things can happen. And then we have them filed on top of that. We can do all of that, but if your situation is as simple as you have 1 or 2 AP clerks, you digitize this process, you can use the workflow to route it through the approvals, and it's already filed, you'll have a huge ROI right out of the box. So that is the, and as also, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this, as Christina mentioned, that also means that the retention schedules can be set on these documents by their document creation date. So if your rules are either regulatory rules or just business practice rules, you keep your invoices for 7 years. At the end of 7 years, you'll get notification that all these documents are eligible for destruction. So there we go. Christina, Sean?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Paul, and thank you, Christina. That concludes today's webinar. And again, if you've missed the previous ones, you can go out to www.digitechsystems.com and locate our AP page. You'll see the recordings there. We do intend to have more webinars that are educational and informative for you folks as we continue throughout the year, so stay tuned for our next series, and thank you.